and blessed to be part of your day. I don't know if I'll be nationally syndicated after blowing that pitch to traffic and weather, but I'm just going to blame David Bozell. He always distracts me when we have him on.
That's fine. Everybody else blames me for things. So,
I
blame me for your own you're a professional broadcaster, Kevin.
Professional
broadcaster.
I lose all sense of professionalism when we have you on. For some reason, you and I have a unique heterosexually approved chemistry here. And like I said, I was so looking forward to when I saw that Ray had you on. I just lost my mind and went to Larry instead of Dave. But good to have you on, sir.
Good to be with you, and good to be heard by all your listeners in Idaho and the world beyond.
This is one of those things where I just have to say two words: Matt Lauer, and then I can just read the paper while we hear what you have to say. Amazing.
Well. What a pervert. And there's a real reckoning within the journalism industry coming down for men. Men in these professional settings have to figure this out. Guys, the rules are simple. We had a meeting with the For America team, and I said, guys, the rules are simple. One gentleman says, "Can I tell someone they look pretty?" I'm like, "No, no. You're here to do a job." And Matt Lauer apparently thought that he was there on the Today Show to try to have sex with every female employee in NBC. The story about him having a button to lock his door, I mean, that's sex dungeon stuff. And so I don't know what NBC does. They're running out of broadcasters. They're running out of professionals. They're probably going to have to bring Tom Brokaw back at this point. I don't know what they do. I guess it might be good for their bench.
I hear Willie Geist is available. The funny part about this, if people aren't familiar with the story, what David's talking about is that Variety broke the story, I guess the New York Times as well, and everybody else, that Matt Lauer in his office had a secret button in his desk that he didn't have to get up. He could automatically lock the door. His office was secluded, and he would invite people in, young ladies, and proposition them and do other things, according to published reports.
Which Matt Lauer has come out with a statement this morning saying, essentially most of it was true. Enough of it was true. I think was his exact words in his statement. So, I mean, this was a guy that was billed as the family man. He led a lot of the Olympic coverage for NBC. So I don't know where they turn. I mean, morning television has really sunk like a stone. It's not as influential as it used to be, and not just in terms of ratings, but by their own choice. Morning network television there's so little raw news that, at least in the political space, they're just simply not as influential as they used to be. I mean, now it's 10 minutes of hard news at the 7 o'clock hour. Then they toss it over to Al Roker. Poor Al Roker had to give this dour weather report yesterday. So sad. It was a sunny day in most of the country. It was a real sunny day.
But let me hit you with a hard question here, David Bozell. You can't tell me that Al and Savannah and others didn't know about it. Heck, Joe Scarborough and Mika, they're going on, and they might not want to reveal too much about coworkers sleeping with each other when they're married to other people. They're having this whole, talking about, well, we didn't know, but he was a philanderer, not an abuser. And there's a difference between being a philanderer and an abuser. This is what I love about For America, foramerica.org at KIDO Talk Radio, is not only do you talk politics, but you talk culture. And I'm thinking to myself, if they knew about it, they were enabling it. I mean, to me, it's nothing but faux outrage from the folks at NBC.
Megyn Kelly comes out with a statement yesterday and said that she had heard a lot of it.
Megan's on the case. Megan's on the case.
Well, Megan's on the case, but she just got there. I mean, she went from working with Bill O'Reilly and dealing with all that,
right,
just getting to NBC, immediately hears about the rumors about Matt Lauer, but Savannah Guthrie and the rest of the NBC team, this was all news to them? No, I don't buy that at all. I think they were basically covering up for their pal. And I think there's a real. It sounds like, given. I mean, Kevin, you could start a cable network with some real quality broadcasters with all these guys that have been fired for sexual harassment. I mean, from O'Reilly to. I mean, by quality is in professional broadcasters who know how to throw it to traffic and weather timely and know the names.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
But I mean, with between Lauer and O'Reilly. Halperin.
Okay, let me just jump in here and say something politically offensive, so I'm going to apologize for it in advance.
We're going to do it on the air.
Megan was, in Roger Ailes' demo. I guess she wasn't in Matt Lauer's, according to published reports. She was right in the thick of things with Roger Ailes. So maybe she felt slighted. Okay, I apologize for saying that, but I couldn't resist that with Megan. Megan's on the story.
Yeah, well, Megan's on the story after she does some sort of 10-minute bit about cooking or some the top 10 beaches in America.
Right.
I don't know what her show's all about. It's totally miscast, and her ratings are terrible. NBC's ratings have been terrible. But the only thing propping NBC up has been Sunday Night Football. They've enjoyed Sunday Night Football has enjoyed consistent good ratings. Probably the only football time slot that hasn't really gone down, since the anthem controversy started. I mean, they've had a couple of clunker games, but on balance, their ratings are really strong. It's the only thing that the NBC network really has going for it right now is the NFL package on Sunday night. So their news division has just been terrible. MSNBC is dragging it down. By the way, Brian Williams looks like an angel compared to these guys. After all the stuff that he's been through, I mean, he goes on the air and lies about being in war-torn battlefields, lies through his teeth, and that's really angelic behavior compared to some of the stuff that's been going on within the NBC news range. He may be somebody that they turn to take over the Today Show, believe it or not, because he's got that raw news experience. So they're in real dire straits, and I don't buy the excuses. I don't buy the stories, the cover-up by some of their co-hosts. I don't buy the lack of knowing by the chairman, Andy Lack. Obviously, the president doesn't. The president has been calling out Andy Lack, the president of NBC News, suggesting that, of course, Andy Lack knew about all this. So, Trump knows. Trump used to work with NBC at NBC with The Apprentice, so he knows a little bit about what's going on there and what's in the bloodstream. So, I think there's more dominoes to fall at NBC News.
Our great friend David Bozell joining us, Kevin Miller in the morning here. Now, we could go on, and culturally, it's a fascinating question. But let's move on. We don't want to bring back 2.5 Men, if you will. But and again, I miss Charlie. Charlie Charlie doesn't have a job today. Let's get to the NFL and talk a little bit about culture. The idea that they've proposed, the owners are coming up with $100 million to essentially ensure that the players stand for the national anthem. As a patriot, as an American, what do you make of it?
As a free market guy, my free market bona fides say, if the owners want to throw $100 million of their own money at something like this, that's their choice, and more power to them. I think Jerry Jones understands. One of the reasons why Jerry Jones is in hot water with the rest of the league is that probably more than any team, given that the Dallas Cowboys are so iconic and are in prime time so often because they're an iconic franchise, they're under the microscope a little bit more, and he understands, Jerry Jones, a master marketer, understands the hit that the NFL has taken, not just from a public relations perspective, but from a financial perspective. And he's, Dallas Cowboys, Texas, red state, conservative. They're not going to put up with this stuff. As much as they might like football, as much as Texans love football, They're not going to put up with the Dallas Cowboys kneeling during the national anthem. So Jerry Jones understands how poorly Roger Goodell and some of the other owners have handled this. Even Jones's neighbor in Houston, Bob McNair, apologizing for just making saying the inmates are running the asylum, and then the NFL players get all ticked off, and then Bob McNair apologizes, and that controversy just never ended for him, and he's had to apologize to his own employees essentially over and over and over again. So Jerry Jones, he's not going to give up this fight against the commissioner until the NFL essentially makes all players stand hand over their heart, because he understands that until that happens on a consistent basis, fans are not going to forget the fact that this league decided to be a bunch of prima donnas and kneel while brave men and women are fighting for their freedom. So but on the economics of it, I mean, if the owners want to throw $100 million down a rabbit hole, I suppose that's their choice.
Indeed, our great friend David Bozell joining us, ForAmerica.org, still number one on the Kevin Miller Guest Show Power Index, and I know that he was worried about the college football playoff sometimes having a top four, having an impact on him, but rest assured, he is still number one. The only guest that we've ever had that has caused me to pitch to the wrong...
Who do you got in the playoffs, Kevin?
Well, you're in the playoffs. You're the one seed.
Oh, well, so what am I, Alabama? They just got knocked off. So who's the number one now? Clemson?
Clemson.
I'll take it.
You're the returning
defending
national champ.
title. Yeah. All right.
By the way, ForAmerica.org, let's go to the front page of that website at KIDO Talk Radio. It looks like the social justice ESPN, bad news. And look, there are some really good people that work in front of the camera, behind the camera. We usually talk about negatively about the bad ones, but another 150 people lose their jobs. When is ESPN ever going to get it and just go back to sports and just really like kind of what they do with College Game Day? Just adopt that model for every broadcast. Get rid of the, Trump is this is that, and just have fun.
Not ever, because there's too many left wingers at the network. There's too many left wingers that have significant social media platforms that they can't help themselves. But go on and criticize the president, criticize Republicans. So I don't think that that's ever going to go away, especially if you're going to keep that on-air talent. I mean, if you're going to keep Jemele Hill, and she's admitted Obama, a huge Obama fan, which is funny. You can be an Obama fan, but you're supposed to be an anchor of a sports network. And she says she's not going to stop doing any of these things. So they're not going to stop having those problems. Their biggest problem on an economic front was that they paid way too much money for Monday Night Football. That has been and that package of games is not stellar, and so they paid just a huge amount of money, and it's essentially what cost Chris Berman, who is the Sunday NFL pregame show host, essentially it cost him his job. And he said so in his own book, where they had to get rid of all the on-air talent as a result of paying these huge rights fees for Monday Night Football, not getting the ratings, not getting the advertisers, and that's partly because people didn't want to tune into ESPN to get a lecture on politics. So it all kind of ties together. I don't think shaving 150 off-camera talent, unfortunate for those guys, for those men and women, but I don't think that's going to stop their problems in the court of public opinion. They just have to be more aggressive about squashing political opinions entering into their sports coverage, or give equal time to conservatives, which that might be an interesting play for them going forward. But from a distribution model, they're going to go to a more digital. They're basically trying to follow Fox Sports. Fox Sports is essentially all digital, all the time, and they use their television as a reproduction of their digital content. So it's everything's going digital now. It's tough to compete, and these rights fees. That'll be an interesting, sports economic story to watch, Kevin. How much is the next NFL television deal? Yeah, I think it's going to be considerably less than the one that they currently enjoy.
Our great friend David Bozell at foramerica.org. Now, finally, and this has to be quick because I've broken all the rules, including pitching to the wrong person again, the weather guy when I meant the traffic guy. You're just intimidating me here today, David. So, and after you leave us, we'll be sharing this. What do you think was going on in Matt Lauer's mind when he grilled Bill O'Reilly?
Oh, my gosh. Probably they'll never catch me. There's so much hubris with these guys. He probably had it in his mind that he would never be caught ever. So, but it is isn't that pot meets kettle kind of a story? That clip is a really terrific. And then O'Reilly, toward the end, if you stay with the clip, O'Reilly says there's going to be more to come, and he was right. I don't think O'Reilly knew that it was the guy sitting right across from him that was going to be the more to come. But this is I don't look. As someone I've never been accused of sexual harassment, never done it myself. I don't understand what the problem is with these men in show business. It's a privilege to be in show business, but I don't understand why so many of them have become sexual deviants. It's just it'll make for a interesting documentary years down the road, but it's got to flush itself out. My guess is there's going to be a lot more to come between journalists and folks in the political space. I don't think Al Franken and John Conyers are the only guys up in Washington who are going to get ensnared in the sexual harassment wave.
Well, David Bozell, that'll have to be the last word. You got a lot of them in. We always appreciate you. We appreciate what you do at foramerica.org.
Anytime, Kevin. Thank you, man. Thanks for the opportunity, as always, okay?
Congratulations on holding on to the top spot. You're doing better than Alabama.
Listen, if you want to hit some tips about how to throw it to traffic and weather, give me a call off there, and I can talk you to.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
That's it.
Our great friend David Bozell. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Big news out of the Bundy case. We'll get to that in a minute. First, traffic and weather together at 580 KIDO and 107.5 FM, KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 6:27. Good morning, Dave. Larry sounds like he's got a cold like I do. Let's go to R&R, who's been very patient with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, R&R.
Good morning, Kevin. Yes, I'm familiar with some really quality human beings over here in Gem County, some that used to sit shoulder to shoulder with one of the sons of Cliven Bundy, and perhaps Liberty Linda's familiar with the case. I just would like to get the subject this morning on something that was truly important to all our civil liberties, and that was that travesty of justice when Cliven Bundy and his sons were just horribly abused by the U.S. government and Bureau of Land Management, and the real truth behind all that, and the out-and-out murder by the FBI sharpshooters over there. The Bundys were trying to get to Grant County. There's a few of us that are stalwarts and patriots and comrades with Cliven and his sons, and I just praise the Lord, our Savior, that the injustice system, and government of the United States has now recanted and has released Cliven and his sons. However, they've lost 2 years of their life and another life. A man that was a father to, I believe, 9 or 11 children was murdered, and things that very few people have followed right here in our neighborhood, which which is a heavy subject, but I just rally around. There's, like I said, I know there's voices that are listening in mine that know the story a lot better than I. And it's a great morning for freedom and patriotism. And I will just let the rest of those that know the topic talk about that. My last thing would be Matt Lauer was exposed years ago as being a cocaine user, and I recall pretty vividly when he and Katie Couric were on in the morning when Matt first cut his hair and he was showing male pattern baldness. It's interesting to me that Katie Couric hasn't spoken on his behalf, nor do I believe she will. And it's just excuse-making and horrible to say that he wasn't a sexual abuser, because he was as much of an abuser as Hugh Hefner. And that's just the truth and my professional opinion.
Arnard,
enough said.
Thank you, sir.
Enough said. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, coming up, Cliven Bundy has been released, but he's refusing to leave. And we'll talk about the Bundy situation at 580-5436. In addition to that, Bill O'Reilly versus Matt Lauer with Kevin Miller next. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. Good. KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:36. Let's go to Peyton from the Young Conservatives of Idaho with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Peyton.
Good morning, Kevin. I just had a couple quick things to say this morning. I wanted to bring up a lot of the sexual misconduct accusations that are going on everywhere right now. I just think one thing I want to say right up from the start is I don't want to discredit any of the women that are coming forward or what they're saying, but I also want to say that I don't think that the way things are going, someone could get taken down with fake accusations in the near future. But I also want to say that a lot of the people that are getting accused, like I said, the women that are coming forward, I don't want to discredit them, but the actions of those individuals have been not a secret for a very long time. So the fact that they're all getting taken down right at the same time is not a coincidence to me, and I'm smart enough to know that it's probably a smokescreen of some kind to know that usual party activity. And Alex Jones is a crazy individual, but he said it well last night. I think he was the one talking about a smokescreen. I had a question for you. I wanted to mix it up today, Kevin. No one asked you questions. I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think that if individuals got enough evidence together for possible fake accusation, they could possibly try to take down the president for accusations of like a sexual assault?
I think they've been trying to, Peyton, they've been trying to do that for, since he became a serious candidate, yes.
That's true. They haven't got him yet, so I have my fingers crossed. I think they might be trying to do that, though.
Well, Peyton, we'll say we heard it here first, not from Alex Jones, but from you.
That's true. All right. Well, Kevin, I want to say one thing. One time I was coming to work, and you had somebody call in that said that a herd of deer was crossing my usual way to work, and I was going to be late because somebody hit a deer, and I went a different way because I was listening to Kevin Miller that morning. So thanks, Kevin. You got an awesome show.
Thank you, Peyton. You're our future. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, you have a good one.
All right, Peyton calling in. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So breaking news that really hasn't been covered anywhere except on social media and by our friends like Barb and Holly and others, and I believe Jared, who sent me a voicemail. We're going to try and get him on. But let's go to Las Vegas with the big news last night from the Vegas I-Team from CBS 8 on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hi, Dave. We're just setting up here.
Well, no, my name's Kevin. But anyway, this is reporter Vanessa Murphy. And you ever notice with TV they have the dramatic music? This is outside the courtroom where a judge released Cliven Bundy. But Mr. Bundy, 71 years of age, says he's not leaving. You'll hear from the reporter. You'll hear from Ryan Bundy, who has been released and is at a halfway house.
Here, Cliven Bundy said no to the judge's offer to release him. He will remain in custody, but his son, Ammon Bundy, and another defendant, Ryan Payne, will be released tomorrow morning. But right now, I have defendant Ryan Bundy with me. You've already been allowed to stay out of jail, out of prison at this time at some sort of halfway house, right? But now the judge said you can go home to Mesquite, right? What do you want to say about that?
Well, I've actually not been in the halfway house. I've been at my cousin's house here in Las Vegas, and so I was only at the halfway house for 2 nights. So I've been out for a couple of weeks now. But my father's position on not coming out is that he's an innocent man. He's not guilty of any crime, and the standard in America is that we are innocent until proven guilty, and it's the government's responsibility, and it's their duty and their obligation to provide that proof. We shouldn't have been in jail not one day. And yet we've been here for 2 years, nearly, and he says when I come out I'm going to be a free man. I'm not going to be subject to conditions of release because I'm not guilty.
Serious accusations here surrounding this standoff in Bunkerville in 2014 about your father's cattle, the family's cattle. You are representing yourself. You're allowed to wear your cowboy hat today as you questioned a witness. Can you talk about the decision to represent yourself in this tense trial?
Well, I'm not representing myself. I am myself. There is a difference. But either way, I felt inspired by the Lord to do so. I was fearful of that decision because, I don't have law training and I'm not schooled in that area. But yet, I felt inspired to do so, and felt that He would guide me and lead me through this, and thus He has. And so that's the reason.
There you have it. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So Ammon Bundy will be released this morning. Cliven Bundy is staying in jail. Ryan Bundy released. And look, it's the Lord. There's no way those guys should be released if you believe what the government had against them. How many times did we document it? You don't want to get too close. But now the judges releasing them? Well, they're going to still kind of try and figure this out. But that's amazing. 2 years of their life lost and Lavoy Finnegan killed. Barb in Sunny Slope, who's very close to this case, joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Barb.
Good morning. Yes, wasn't that great news? I don't know what I can add beyond what you have heard. You know that Ryan has been out because because of defending himself. And Ammon is allowed to leave. Ryan Payne will be allowed to leave in a couple days. I don't know what the several-day issue is, but he is allowed to leave. He lives in Montana, so I believe that's going to be, there's a logistic issue there. I was very amazed, frankly, at Cliven because in addition to staying in because he wanted to walk out a free man, which he definitely said is true, he also did not want to leave because the other men that are still in prison, I don't know how many there are, plus or minus 15 of these guys that are still in prison, what they call Tier 3, would start the trial this winter, are still being held. There's 2 Bundys and there's a pile of other patriots, and he didn't want to be out unless they were released also. He requested their release. He said, if we can be released, they can be released. So, and I thought one of the things that the prosecution has been saying is that Cliven Bundy is so self-serving. We want to keep some of the defense testimony out because it's just self-serving to Cliven Bundy. It doesn't help him. I mean, it probably does help him, but it's not something they want in. So they said, well, it's just self-serving. Well, certainly an elderly man who is in need of medical care, who has the option to get out of jail right now, even if it were just to get the medical care, voluntarily staying in prison because he wants to walk out a free man and because he wants to stand for the other patriots that would not be tried until this winter, is not a self-serving action. That is an incredible action of integrity. I am so amazed at this, just totally amazed. I'm thrilled to know that Ammon will finally get to be seeing his children, that Ryan has been able to see his children. But, just using the Bundys alone, there are 23 children that have been without their parents, their father. And that doesn't count the other, and I don't know how many there were totally, but it was originally in the upper 20s whose fathers were all in prison and who all were not being around their dads. But I am totally excited about this. There's been some very interesting things that am I talking too long here that have come out in the testimonies. Things like one BLM agent saying the testimony of another BLM agent was all a lie, and he's telling the truth because there were conflicting testimonies. And then he essentially got caught in a separate untruth. There were quite a few very interesting things.
Let's take a look at things here at KIDO Talk Radio. Our friend Barb from Sunny Slope, Kevin Miller. This is not national news, though.
I know that, and this is appalling to me. You can get your friend on this,
my friend is too busy hanging with Donald Trump. And as you and I have talked about off the air, people, when the government comes in and arrests people, and they arrested some journalists who were covering the story, they were sending a message, and maybe because Trump's in, it's a little different. I would hope that it is. But, there was a message, stay away from the Bundys. Look, my association with that case hurt me here locally.
Right. I know that. And, that really speaks to this whole concept of freedom of the press is shot.
Well, I don't think that exists and I'll say that to begin with, but do you believe that, and many people know the Bundys, Ammon Bundy has moved to Emmett, Idaho. His wife Lisa's been in one local paper. So do you believe that, he'll be home in Idaho? I do.
Wow. I do. At least between trials, as I had heard, and of course I'm only getting this from the court, the people we have in there reporting directly from the court. But from what I heard, is he's allowed to go home. He has to show back up on December 11th. The next court date is December 11th, and he has to, of course, show back up. But I believe he's going home. I will be calling and finding out. I have to bring something up to Lisa this weekend, so I will certainly hope she's back home and with him, to be honest with you. Now, Ryan Payne's attorney yesterday, I understand, gave 1,000 pages to the judge of reasons this whole case should be dismissed on what has been going on.
Well, if it were Hillary Clinton, I think that wouldn't have a good probability. But thankfully, Donald Trump's in there. Maybe the case will go away. But Barb, we'd love for you to put in a good word for us with the Bundys. We've talked about that in the past, but we'd be more than happy to have both of them in. Again, it's a God thing. There's no other explanation for this. When the federal government comes down on you, as they have, and puts you away and tortures you and do all these things, and now you're being released, it's the Lord. It really is.
It really is the Lord. That's the only thing it is. I have reached out to Lisa. I haven't heard from her. I think she's been a bit overwhelmed.
I would imagine.
So I'm hoping that maybe the two of them could get on. So I will, again, bring it up. I'm sure it's not the first thing on her mind.
I couldn't imagine why it wouldn't be the first thing on her mind.
I know. You'd wonder. I mean, Kevin Miller or her husband, Ammon,
I'm with you. But, Barb, you and Holly and everybody else should be commended for your loyalty, which is often talked about but never practiced as you have in supporting these folks.
Well, thank you. And let me just put one other plug in there, that if there is anyone out there that can, one of the attorneys and one of the paralegals and the guys that are reporting on the court are doing this only by donation. So if anybody would like to donate to AmmonBundyDefense.com, that would be a wonderful help. Just go to AmmonBundyDefense.com, one word.
All right.
And if you just put in $10, it'll be a great help. So,
Barb, I'm late on time here. I got to go.
See ya.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Thank you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:54. Liberty Linda joins us now. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. You know, Kevin, I was going to ask you if you've ever noticed my high cheekbones. But after hearing what R&R said this morning, you know, I got all excited because it's interesting. I was actually thinking about the Bundys this morning. And, you know, it's amazing to hear all this good news about them. I am so happy and excited for them. Anyway, thank you for reporting that and letting us know about it.
Well, you're quite welcome. You know, you talk about divine intervention, though.
Oh, I know. Well, they needed it. And, you know, you've covered everything about what's happened with them on your show. And you know, we're so happy that you have. Thank you for having Barb on this morning. And, you know, just so excited for them. And I hope they can get back to normal life now with their families. And anyway, so.
Boy, what does that mean, though, if the whole time the Bundys were right and the government was wrong? And you talk about an injustice, and you talk about the murder of Lavoy Finicum, and you talk about over 2 years in prison, not just the Bundys, but their supporters, their families. How many families could survive without the breadwinner for over 2 years?
You're absolutely right. And perhaps we'll hear what happened to them while they're in prison as well. And, you know, our founding fathers gave us a wonderful government, and it seems to have changed through the years. You know, we the people, why they're written in such large words is because we are the government. We elect people to represent us. So we are actually the government of this country, and that's what's so wonderful about our wonderful country. And so thank you so much for covering this, Kevin, through the years, actually, and letting us know what's going on. And I think it's just something in the air. I don't know why I was thinking about them this morning, but maybe others were as well.
Well, aren't you someone that has, predicted the future?
Have I?
You know, we've talked about this. You've had visions.
I have. I've had visions, many visions.
Maybe this was, right in that wheelhouse. We don't even know it.
Perhaps. Perhaps you're right about that. I think all of us have had visions at different times in our lives. I have been very blessed to have many of them. And hopefully I'll share many of them as soon as my book is published. I'll come on the air with you and I'll share some of my amazing visions.
Well, look, you're starting to get into coast-to-coast territory, and you know me, I get scared with that stuff.
Anyway, amazing things to find out. You know, I know what happened at Stonehenge. I know what they did there, and given many visions about that. But today, just be thankful for, the Bundys being released, and great happiness for them, and happiness for your show. Thank you so much for bringing all this to us. We love you, Kevin. We love your show. We love Ray. He does such a wonderful job as well. And you're just a part of us and a part of Treasure Valley. And thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Liberty Linda. We got to run, but thank you.
Okay, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Traffic and I'm Kevin Miller, currently 26 in Meridian. Coming up next, we'll delve into the rules of the workplace, plus what's going on with tax reform. Congressman Labrador will join us next hour as well with our firsthand report of, being a watchdog on D.C., plus we'll talk about the state's gubernatorial race. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.